Hey, what's going on? Eric Bach here. Welcome. Today we're going to cover 5 crucial tips and reasons you need to master the barbell bent over row. Stick around because number 4 is absolutely crucial. And number 5, well, if you want to build big arms, you're really going to like that one. Here we go. Reason number 1, barbell bent over rows develop back thickness like nothing else. Specifically with your lats, they have a diagonal fiber orientation, meaning they grow well both with like a vertical pull, a semi-vertical pull, such as an angled lat pull down, and a horizontal pull like a row. A lot of people focus primarily on just pull downs and pull ups when it comes to trying to build up their lats. But if we really want to build your back, especially your lats, a barbell bent over row allows us to really hit those muscle fibers in a different way. In addition, you're going to be lifting heavy typically when you do a barbell row with more load than you would in many different exercises. By extension, we can create more force directly within the muscle, recruit more fast twitch muscle fibers, and drive more muscle protein synthesis, which all equates to more muscle growth. In addition to your lats, you can also build beefy traps and muscular rhomboids while also having some ancillary work directly in your forearms and your biceps when you're doing a barbell bent over row. Even further, if you want to emphasize your biceps more, you can flip your grip, use a supinated hand position, and then you're using a very heavy load directly on your biceps. The only thing here is you have to control every inch of the rep to reduce the chance of a bicep strain or tear. Number 2, build the hip hinge mechanic. So the hip hinge is different from a squat, whereas a hip hinge, we have a slight bend the knees and it's your hips going back. And the hip hinge is crucially important for developing that movement pattern when it comes to doing a deadlift, Romania deadlift, single leg deadlift, even getting into position for Olympic barbell type exercises. And so when you can develop this movement pattern, it's going to help reinforce and improve spinal stability and your ability to hold tension in your core for all of these other exercises. And when it comes to a barbell bent over row, we are maximized in that hip hinge position with a vertical shin right here, and we are just having an isometric contraction in that position. So one issue a lot of people have with a barbell bent over row is they cheat on the reps because they're too weak in holding that hip hinge position. Well, the way to train a weakness isn't by avoiding it completely, it's to do it intelligently, building strength, building stability, and by extension, when you build strength and stability doing an exercise like a barbell bent over row, then you're going to be able to transfer that over to having better deadlifts, better spinal stability, fewer chances of injury when it comes to hip hinge movements, which are crucial if you want to build your traps, your lats, your rhomboids, your lower back, your glutes, and your hamstrings. So by extension, getting awesome at the barbell bent over row can get you fucking jacked in all of these other areas. Number 3, this gets a little bit redundant, but I'm gonna say it anyway. They'll make you a better deadlifter. Who doesn't want a badass deadlift? Who doesn't want to be able to pick up a weight while maintaining optimal spinal position off the ground? 1, it's fun. 2, it's gonna build incredible strength and power. 3, they're awesome for social media. But being serious, the trunk position, the stability that you build directly on a barbell bent over row is going to translate directly over to those same positions that you are in the deadlift. In fact, look at these videos side by side. Notice how similar that pull is all the way past mid shin. That's exactly why reinforcing strength with a barbell bent over row is going to translate to a better deadlift. Number 4, building a resilient spine, preventing future injury. Now, when you do a barbell bent over row, one of the things when you're doing a barbell bent over row is you want to be able to keep that bar close to your torso. The further out the bar gets, the increased shear stress directly on your spine. So take an example and look at the bar path directly on this bent over row. Notice the bar stays over the middle of my foot and close to my shin. If that gets further out, we increase stress directly on the spine. And so what we can do by improving bent over row technique is build more strength, build more stability, being able to hold that position, which makes you more resilient to preventing injuries in the future. Number 5, build bigger biceps. Specifically, if you want to use an underhand grip, a supinated grip, you're going to really bias the exercise towards building a bigger bicep. One reason this is important, a lot of people only train the bicep with high rep pump work. That's fine when you're doing isolation work, but if we want to maximize muscle fiber recruitment, if we want to activate the fast twitch muscle fibers, the ones that are most prone to growth, we need to actually use substantial load, which is one reason I like heavier sets of chin-ups, heavier sets of rows, and in this case, yes, heavier sets of barbell rows. So if we supinate the grip, then we can use a heavier load, activate more fast twitch muscle fibers, and when we activate more muscle fibers directly with a heavy lift early on, we can recruit and fatigue those muscle fibers with your high rep isolation work. Think of it this way. Let's say you're only recruiting 60% of the muscle fibers in your bicep. When you go on and do a high rep finisher trying to build your bicep later on, you can fatigue that 60%. Well, what if we turn the lights on by training heavy, by building more strength, and all of a sudden you can recruit 80% of the muscle fibers in your bicep? Again, just using rough numbers here. Well, if we can fatigue an extra 20% of our muscle fibers, then logically speaking, we should be able to create a better growth stimulus. We'll be stronger, we'll be using more load for more reps, creating more of an overall muscle building stimulus. So building bigger arms, a barbell bent over row can be a great exercise for that, not just for building total body mass, but for building up your arms specifically. If you want to build bigger forearms, stick with a pronated overhand grip. That can be a great addition. You can use a grip tool like a fat grip. Those will increase the grip size a little bit, but they may be a limiting factor where you're not going to be able to effectively train your lats or anything else that you're looking to build. Most people do the exercise with terrible form and end up getting hurt. So we're going to break down how exactly you should do it for optimal performance and lean muscle. Now, the most important part of the exercise is getting the setup correctly. When we do this, we get the right torso angle. We can focus on the correct muscles that we actually want to train, primarily the lats, while building a ton of stability directly through your lower back. All right, so for my setup, I want my feet about shoulder width apart, a very slight bend in the knees. Now, the key thing is we have a hip hinge position that we're focusing on throughout the exercise. So slight bend the knees, shoulders retracted, and now I'm just gonna focus on pushing my hips back, and my arms are hanging down just like a pair of hooks. That's what I want you to think about your hands. They are basically a pair of meat hooks right here. All the tension is in my hamstrings, lower back is engaged, and hands are just hanging down. And wherever your hands reach the bar while maintaining a hip hinge is going to be your best starting position. What we don't want is to start down like we're gonna do a clean, like we're trying to squat the weight up. That's not gonna give us anywhere to go when it comes to performing the row, because the inclination directly of your tibia, of your lower leg, is gonna shoot the bar forward. So we want a vertical shin, abs are tight, back is flat, and arms hang straight down. And as you can see, this is my ideal pulling position. Now that we have the hip hinge position, we are down. We want the bar close to your shins. I like directly over midfoot. We don't want the bar to shift too far forward past your toes. That's going to increase what we call shearing stress directly on your spine. When this happens, we are more likely to get injured. So we're about midfoot. Abs are tight. And now we initiate the movement. We pick up the bar just a little bit off the ground. And there's a lot of tension just right here. And so the very first part of the barbell bent over row, I like just to reinforce that ideal starting position, and then we can actually do what we call a dead pull. So that second part, a dead pull, we're just gonna pull the weight up to mid shin. This builds a ton of strength and stability directly through your core. It is also an incredible exercise if you tend to lose spinal position on a deadlift. Position, we're all set. Slight bend in the knees, have our tension, and now we're just gonna pull up to about mid shin. Couple seconds, and back down. Couple seconds, and back down. So as we build stability directly in that position, that is when we start to really ingrain that proper technique and that body position that we want to hold. So now we know how to get directly into that position. We know how to hold that stability with a simple exercise like a dead pull. Now all we simply need to do is add the rowing component. When we're doing the row, we can bias the exercise a couple of different ways. First, we can pull down and back towards the hip. We can bias the exercise a lot more towards your lats. If we want to go more mid-back, more trap, more rhomboid, then we can come out to the side a little bit more, closer to a 90-degree angle. The important thing to remember here is we want to maintain that consistent body angle. Otherwise, what happens, we start to put a little bit more stress directly on our lower back, and we can actually de-emphasize some of the muscles like your lats, traps, and rhomboids that we're looking to train. Abs are tight, braced. And the big thing, as you're going through, holding body position, my torso is not moving at all. So the better you can perform the exercise without that excess of body language, the better overall your results are gonna be. If you're getting to the point where you're having to cheat, having to change body angles, then you're probably a little bit too heavy. Your ability to do the row is compromised by lack of strength and stability through your lower back. Now, when it comes to doing barbell rows, there are a couple different variations that you can primarily focus on. One, a pronated overhand grip. This is your typical barbell bent over row. With that pronated grip, we have a little bit more work being done directly by the forearm flexors. Now, if you want to flip it and go supinated, an underhand grip, we're actually going to train the biceps incredibly hard. This can be very beneficial because With your biceps, if you can activate more high threshold motor units, activate more type 2 muscle fibers, we can also fatigue more of those muscle fibers for growth. So one very simple thing you can do is if you want to squeeze out more biceps growth and even lower lat growth based on the bar path, typically being a little bit lower with a supinated grip, then you can use a supinated grip barbell bent over row. Third, we have a pen lay row. A pen lay row is we have a explosive barbell bent over row directly from the ground. So each rep restarts. When you do this, you can build incredible stability and strength directly through your midsection and more power. This was popularized by Glenn Penlay, a world champion weightlifter for the United States. Now you can use other tools as well. I've got a trap bar right here. This is a great one if you want to reduce the shearing stress directly on your spine and do a bent over row. You can also adjust your body position with that row based on using the high handles or the low handles. Finally, if you're somebody who tends to struggle with elbow, wrist issues, or maintaining that ideal position with your lower back, you can use a tool like Angles 90. I'll show you a quick demonstration of what that looks like, but these handy dandy little tools here, what they do is one, they'll allow you to have a higher torso angle and at the same time give you a free range of motion to actually twist and rotate when you're performing the row. Now the key, when you're doing a barbell bent over row, it's not to sacrifice technique to chase more weight. That's where a lot of people run into issues with injuries. Is it a high risk exercise? Not inherently, not any more than a deadlift. It really comes down to how well you can execute the exercise with pristine technique. So if you dial into technique, well, guess what? That's how you can build that strength and resilience that's gonna actually be able to prevent injury and improve performance on different exercises, such as your deadlift. Hey, thank you so much. If you got value directly from this video, please do me a big favor. Hit like, hit subscribe, and leave us a comment. If you have any additional questions, also leave them directly in the comments below. If you do want an article that breaks all of this down specifically, just say, Eric, can I have the article in the comments? I will track it down and I will personally send it to you. All right, hope you're having a great day. We'll catch you on the next one. And remember, success comes down to the ruthless execution of the basics. Did you find this helpful? If so, pound that like button and hit subscribe. Now, if you want a free copy of our Chiseled Muscle Cheat Sheet, the no BS way to help you lose body fat and build lean muscle in 90 days, make sure that you go to the description below and download your free copy. Any questions? Drop them in the comments and can't wait to see you with the next video.